racial justice campaigners and award-winning music artists, including Alicia Keys and Khalid, have come together calling on the new Biden administration to create a commission on racial justice. In a moment, we'll speak to two of the co-founders of the Breathe With Me revolution. But first, let's take a look at their latest campaign video.
I can't believe I'm back 4 years later with 17 more ways you can be killed.
Leaving a party, Jordan Edwards.
Sleeping in your home, Dominique Clayton.
Sitting in a wheelchair, Jeremy McDowell.
Riding your bike, Ronell Foster.
Suffering from a mental illness, Walter Wallace Jr.
Joining us now, two of the Breathe With Me revolution co-founders. Prophet joining us from Atlanta, and Lee Blake in Los Angeles for us this morning. Great to have you both on. Lee, I wonder if I might start with you. Just tell us about the genesis of this project, the Breathe With Me revolution, speaking to quite a few people, really.
Yes, it's very interesting because, as you can hear, I'm British. This began when my dear friend Sia saw the footage of George Floyd and became totally devastated by it. She was there in England. She has an amazing design company. And she called me crying. It must have been about 3 a.m. for her. And she said, you know, what on earth are these? Why are these people so hateful? She said, you know, we're dying of COVID everywhere, black and brown people. And now they just want to, you know, step on our necks and just kill us even in spite of this. And she said, but however, this is the first time that all my white friends are calling me saying, this is so terrible, so terrible. What can I do? How can I help? What can I finally do? Sia's Tanzanian, but educated in Britain and lives in Britain. And she said, that she said to her friends, you know, if you're not breathing with me, then you're contributing to my demise. And so I said, oh my God, Sia, that is a campaign. And we came upon Breathe With Me revolution out of that. And I've been friends with Prophet for a very long time. And we all got together and realized this is something that we couldn't be silent or inert about. We've both done, you know, I've done decades of humanitarian work. So this was just the follow-on and a natural thing for me to do. And, you know, it's been very successful so far, I'm thrilled to say. And yes, we're calling it Racial Healing Commission.
Well, we'll just pick up on that point with Prophet. Tell us then a little bit about your involvement in all of this as part of the Black Music Action Coalition, but specifically this commission on truth, racial healing and transformation. Now, this is something you want to see Joe Biden, of course, Kamala Harris bringing forward in the first 100 days, Prophet.
1,000%. As Lee mentioned earlier, I've known Lee for over 20 years and always been a fan of her work and her ability to corral celebrities around issues that were dire to the community. So Black Music Action Coalition formed shortly after George Floyd as a response to the music industry's quote unquote desire to address racial disparity. So for us, it was a natural partnership to connect with Lee on this issue. We was a fan of what was done with 23 Ways, how impactful that was. So we knew that 17 more ways would have the same level of impact. So we immediately began to corral artists around this issue. And we are very happy with the success thus far. It's only the surface, though. We won't stop until we actually get this commission done.
Lee, just on the commission itself, of course, we've seen truth and reconciliation committees in a number of countries around the world. Many people will immediately think of the one, of course, that was set up in the aftermath of apartheid in South Africa. I understand the desire to get some answers, to move forwards with the process of healing. But given what we have just seen in that fractious presidential election campaign, culminating in those riots in the capital itself, is the first 100 days of the Joe Biden administration the time to get started with this, or perhaps should the dust settle slightly?
Well, we think it's been time.
Sure.
You know, this has been going on for 401 years, this immense brutality perpetrated on Black people in this country and taught to them, frankly, by our ancestors. And enslaved here by our ancestors. So, you know, it's been time, and we feel there's no better time than when the country is divided for us to all see healing as our future and really impress upon everyone that's calling for racial equity that we can't have racial equity without truth. We need to tell the truth about the incredible ways from slavery onwards, from 1619 onwards, that Black people in this country, African Americans, I should say, in this country, have been brutalized, absolutely, completely brutalized. And it's just time. I mean, it's really time.
Prophet, yeah, you're nodding along there. And look, personally, from my own perspective, you might detect a bit of a Scottish accent about me. Events over the past couple of years have forced me to have a look at Scotland's own role in the slave trade and the street names in Glasgow, for example. It is an issue that we all have to deal with. But what more generally, though, Prophet, do you think is the role of, you know, people who aren't of colour in this discussion? Clearly, Lee's very active in all of this, but sometimes there is a feeling people want to help, people want to be allied to the cause, but kind of don't really know what to do for fear of, you know, offending, insulting someone like yourself.
I mean, you know, I think an individual will have to figure that kind of out for themselves. But I think what people can do, and particularly allies, is join us in this call for truth. I think what you experienced, what the world watched on January 6th, this insurrection, if you will, was simply a reflection of the deep racial divide in this country. And until we deal with it, until we actually root this thing up, dig it up, analyze it, and then heal from it, everything else is a Band-Aid. All the policies that we're fighting for, all of the different reforms that we're looking to see happen are all great, but are null and void if you don't have the root of this thing actually dealt with. And that's what the Truth Commission would do. So I think all people, Black people in America and allies, people who understand that, who watched those 8 minutes and 52 seconds of George Floyd's murder, who watched Breonna Taylor be murdered in her home, people who have watched decades and decades and decades of discrimination against Black people in this country. If we're serious about healing this country, if we're serious about bringing this nation together and to be an example of the world, a Truth Commission is the only way.
Lee Blake, Prophet, well, particularly Prophet for staying up so, well, both of you for staying up quite so late. Really appreciate you joining us in the programme this morning. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.